Hello, everyone. This is Emily, and I am a digital transformation consultant at Hyperbots. Today, we are joined by John Silverstein, and we'll be talking about strategies of matching in accounts payable. John is the VP of FP&A at Extreme Reach and has over 20 years of experience navigating Fortune 500 giants and dynamic startups. So let's delve right into the topic, John. Just starting it with a very easy question. So, what is the choice of fields for matching in the accounts payable process, and why is it critical for any organization?
Yeah, this is the most important part because once you set up the matching, that's what's going to control whether you can match and the efficiency, whether everything goes through the AP process and how accurate it is, and whether you need to do rework or those types of things. So it ensures that we pay for what we actually purchased. It also can prevent errors, fraud, overpayments. It also supports and makes sure that we're compliant against the contracts and internal policies. However, if you're too strict on the matching, it can slow down the processes. And there's one thing I'd like to note here is that it's not just the matching, it's also what data you're gathering. So you may match on 3 or 4 fields, but you might gather 20 fields, but not have to have exact matches, but that can inform and help us down the line.
Got it. So, John, can you explain the difference between two-way and three-way matching and when each is the most appropriate?
Yeah, two-way matching, it doesn't have the receipt of goods in it. It's just matching based on the invoice and PO. So that it speeds up the process because you have the PO fields and you can match against the invoice fields, which is good for services and things that you don't necessarily have a receipt of goods. So that's the most value. Or if it's low value transactions or things like that, that is below $1 threshold, you may not worry as much about a exact match to all the different fields. Three-way matching, like I said, it has the goods receipt note. So that's the biggest difference, is to make sure that you actually received the goods that you ordered on that PO and that you weren't short shipped or those types of things. So that makes sure that you're matching on the appropriate items. The methods the method for the three-way matching, it's more thorough and it's ideal for those high value or high risk and material items that you bring into your system.
Understood. Understood. Okay. And John, in your experience, what are the most critical fields to include in three-way matching and why?
Yeah, the most critical fields is definitely the PO number, your quantity, unit price, total amount. Those are the most critical because that's ensures that you actually received everything that you expected. It ensures that you actually have the PO and which item it was actually for. And your PO typically will have all the accounting guidance and everything on it. So it'll predetermine the booking for the item once it's received. So the PO number, it links to the invoice. Make sure you have the correct order, while quantity and unit price ensure that the order was ordered and that the price matches is what was received and billed. So it makes sure that there's no differences or discrepancies based on what was expected.
Got it.
Yep.
So, John, should the addresses field also be considered for matching? Should it also be matched?
For which field?
The addresses field?
The address field, it's hard to match the address field, but it's best to do it. It's critical that you capture it from a sales tax perspective. You want to have the addresses matched, but the billing often happens out of different entities and has different addresses, so it's hard to match and it can slow down your process significantly. But you need to make sure that where you're using the materials and those things, that it's tax compliant if it's shipped from or shipped to and those types of things. So you have to make sure you have the right addresses. But in my experience, I don't usually match on the address because there's too many nuances from it.
Got it. Makes sense. And In your experience, John, should the dates in the invoices be matched?
Yeah, the dates should be matched within a tolerance. I wouldn't expect an exact match all the time because sometimes invoices happen a day or behind or not exact with the like receipt of goods and things like that. So you don't know which date to necessarily match, and there's multiple dates. It's order date, ship date. So there's a lot of dates to do, and it can be confusing. But you should have tolerance and you should try to do it. I think AI can actually help with this because it can read and figure out which dates are which and do more matching, but it can get confusing and add more layers to the process if you're trying to match exactly to the date, and it's you're gonna have a lot of back and forth with your vendors.
Got it. Understood. And what do you exactly do for tax matching?
So typically you don't match on the sales tax is not matched as the PO may not have the sales tax details. It's critical to capture this again and to make them to do a validation ideally. So you know if you're supposed to, if you're tax exempt, and this has happened throughout my career, is we've been tax exempt but continue to be charged sales tax. So it's critical that you do it upfront and that you capture that and try to match that there is sales tax, and if there is sales tax, that you appropriately check. If there's no sales tax, it's still important because you're still liable for sales tax. So it's important that you actually do the checks no matter what.
Got it. Got it. Also, what are the potential risks or drawbacks of matching too many fields in the AP process?
Yeah, the drawbacks is that you're never going to be exact on, you can match every field, descriptions, item codes, product codes, and dates and all those things. Because of the differences between a vendor and yourself, there's going to always be some differences. So it's really critical that you just match the fields that really matter and that can catch the fraud, catch discrepancies in like number of parts shipped and things like that. But you don't necessarily need to match every field, like I said, alluded to earlier on, but you need to make sure that you are capturing all those fields potentially so you can make decisions off of it. Like if there's discounts, penalties, those types of things may or may not be on the actual invoice. So you might need to pull that from the contract and pull data together as well. So you're not going to have that. And that's why you don't want to do too many because it's going to error out or it's going to cause confusion or bad data. And you're gonna end up manually processing everything all the time, and it defeats the purpose of any match.
Got it. And just thinking on the contrary, what could be the consequence of matching fewer or too little fields?
Yeah, if you're only matching like PO or something like that, you could miss the actual quantities that were received and things like that. So it's critical that you do at least the price, quantity, and PO. The other fields can be critical. It depends on the industry and it depends on the vendors and types of products or services that you're trying to match with. And so it varies and your rules will be different based on the company you're in. But it's critical that you match enough fields to have accuracy and to make sure you can catch errors versus, but make sure that you don't try to match every single field where you're going to have a discrepancy in potential part or item IDs or things. Sometimes they use the manufacturer ID versus the vendor ID and things like that. So there's a balance that needs to be played, and you need to weigh that and understand that where there's going to be errors or there's discrepancies in how you're actually billed.
Got it. Got it. So, John, how can AI play a role in optimizing the matching process?
AI speeds up and allows you to go through the invoice in detail. A lot of the previous systems or older uh, systems, they match based on, they might pull in data and information, but it may not know where to put that information and things. AI is giving us that ability to actually read an invoice and take that information and put it into the appropriate places and to match the appropriate places versus In the past, this was a manual process, literally on paper at some point where you were checking the box and making sure that a PO matched and that that the right fields and values and dollars and quantities and all those things matched. AI can automate that and bring us to the next level, and it will be more accurate than us trying to read and match the things that may not necessarily be the right numbers and things. So it removes that error, it increases accuracy. It gives ability for somebody else to go in after and be assisted, and it's already checked, so you know what matches and didn't match, and if there's errors. So this will speed up the process and improve accuracy across the board.
Understood. And how do you balance the need for accuracy with the need for efficiency in the AP process?
Yeah, it goes back to how many fields you're matching and things like that versus data capturing, but accuracy is critical because then, and the more accurate you can get from the AI process, the better your accounting will be, the better your audits will go. It's a time saver. It can detect and figure out like where things need to go faster. You don't want to end up where you're just trying to make sure everything is exact all the time. Though the discrepancies I kind of said earlier on, but it's making sure that you have thresholds and things like that. I think AI will take that to the next level because you might have discrepancies in item numbers, but then it can look at that item and look at what your items are, and it can track over time and learn that those might be able to match. So you might be able to actually match more fields down the line as AI gets better and better.
Got it. And just one last question, John, to summarize everything. Looking ahead, how do you see the role of AI and technology evolving in the accounts payable process?
Yeah, number one, in the AI process, it's going to be a lot easier because you'll have the algorithms handling these tasks and matching and things like that that you can do. I don't expect the keystrokes of AP clerks to continue. They shouldn't have to, and it should be kept to a minimal amount of actual typing and data entry that is still, a big part of what an AP person or clerk or AP departments are doing. AI will take that away, and then it will improve that matching. It'll also, I think, improve at some point, not just the AP side, but the AR side. And as you're getting the invoice and everything, you'll be able to meet the expectations of what the billing requirements are. It's also, I think, very confusing today in the AP space of how you even get paid, if you are a vendor or vice versa, just because the systems out there have a lot of different requirements, whether it's, oh, it has to be in a PDF format, or it has to be in a very specific way and layout, and things like that. I think AI removes those requirements, so it's not as necessary. It also makes it easier to get an invoice versus companies that have large invoices are often what they're doing. You have EDI processes and electronic processes, which this doesn't necessarily need, but you may not need those electronic processes because AI can take an actual invoice and make it electronic. So I think that's, some of the real ways that things are going to transform and what we're building for and trying to integrate with the whole ecosystem in our industries and things like that. You may not need to do in the future because of AI's ability to process.
Got it. Thank you so much, John, for sharing your insights on such an important topic. It's clear that the right approach to matching an accounts payable, when supported with AI, can have a significant impact on a company's financial health and operational efficiency. So, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great having you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.